Now, I will be giving a heads up, a full disclaimer right off the get-go. My channel will be taking a drastic turn, and the upcoming bit, I am at the current time unable to stream. Therefore, I would like to put my creative drive to YouTube as it was when I did not have the ability to stream before. This direction will be geared towards reviews of movies and TV shows, as my Twitch was heavily geared towards. In between these reviews will be classic YouTube commentary videos, but be understanding that I only have two to sometimes even one day off a week. So these videos will most likely be bi-weekly. With that in mind, I would like to hop into today's video, and it's going to be a review of Adam Sandler's best or worst movie, Hubie Halloween. Also understand my voice is fucked up. I went to an amusement park, so I'm trying to record this the day before Halloween. But let's just hop right into this. Hubie Halloween, or as I like to refer to it as everything the original Halloween should have done to become a comedy, but Adam Sandler, is a movie released in a recent myriad of Netflix films. Released in 2020, Hubie Halloween stars Adam Sandler and his usual ragtag gaggle of cast like Kevin James, Rob Schneider, and Steve Buscemi, alongside actors and actresses such as Julie Brown, who is most notably known for her role as Claire in the highly acclaimed show Modern Family, or if you are a Happy Madison Productions fan, her role as Virginia Vinette in Happy Gilmore. The cast also shares members on its brackets such as June Squibb, Kenan Thompson, and Karan Brar, with special guest appearances by Shaq, the big man himself, and Ben Stiller reprising his decade-long shtick of Orderly Hal, who has been promoted from nursing home orderly to a psych ward orderly, which kind of low-key means there are a bunch of Adam Sandlers in the singular world, or there is a Happy Madison universe like the MCU, and Orderly Hal is the watcher of said universe. Personally, I prefer the latter ideology. However, if you were a consistent viewer of my streams, I've had qualms with Netflix movies for eons now, and that's for a good reason. They're dog shit. Netflix tends to try and capitalize on any trend that comes up on a franchise, on something that was successful on their platform. Take, for instance, Tiger King and Riverdale. Since Tiger King's popularity, Netflix has pumped out and invested more in documentaries that could rival the Discovery Channel's own investments. The catch being, however, they're all true crime documentaries. And with the growth of popularity in the other example, like Riverdale, Netflix has poured money into series such as The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which is a Halloween spin-off that got picked up by Netflix and didn't garner much critical acclaim. How I kind of know this one exactly for an instance is because it's on season 4, and that's when the show got canceled. I didn't even know the show had a season 2, and they now have a Winx Club adaptation, and they just keep putting out these new overturned classics. They really know how to beat a dead horse dry. But Huey Halloween is a diamond in the rough. Is the movie particularly good or funny? The answer to that is no. But it sure does know what it is. It's an homage to Halloween. I'm not certain what Happy Madison Productions had intended with this film. Whether it was because Adam was still locked on contract with Netflix or not. Either way, the film exists, and I'm kind of glad that it does. So without further ado, let's get right into this review. Because I've really kind of stalled on the time here. At the beginning of this movie, we are greeted to a pumpkin on the head swivel rather than the classic Happy Madison introduction with the golf ball, followed by seeing Happy Madison in a Dracula costume quoting the age-old tagline of "Terrific." From the projection slide, we cut to Westford State Mental Hospital. I dare you to try saying that 10 times fast. We then have our first glimpse at Orderly Hal, delivering jello and hot dogs to the patients. Still being a dick more than ever, Hal enters the patient's room to cause a ruckus. But gasp! He's been duped! And we get our first innuendo of the film, a hot dog, twig, and berries stuck in a jello man. And from this moment arises our predominant conflict, a psych patient who escaped a mental hospital. Very original, I know. Cue the title card and the troped Halloween music that's just fucking in every Halloween movie. And then it goes to cueing the Halloween trope of scary occurrence happening within Salem, Massachusetts. Because that's where this movie takes place. As why would it not? And let me start by saying the beginning of this movie is rough. I tried watching this on Halloween as a way to celebrate, as I bitched out with my candy corn by the fistloads. Yes, I am a candy corn enthusiast. Anyone who is not can go fuck themselves. The only catch was I couldn't will myself to get past the first 3 minutes of this film, as almost immediately the audience is subjected to a near special needs Adam Sandler riding a bike with a helmet on because of bike safety. His helmet is a child's pumpkin drawn on it, and it has a mirror attached to it so we can see behind him. Frankly, the mirror, not too bad. But Adam Sandler plays a near caricature of someone with a disability. And somehow he does a far better portrayal than Sia's take on an autistic person. So there's that. Um, but Sandler plays the role of Huey Dubois, middle-aged man who has a heavy speech impediment, and ushers the intricity of Billy Madison at his worst. Can't forget though, he still lives with his mother, and has never seen a booba in his life. Combine all of this Sandler-esque and add an immediate puke joke, specifically a projectile vomit joke to the film, and there's your answer upon my first review of the movie and why I could not tolerate it. I decided to bear it all and continue to watch this film at a later date. And I cannot stress this enough. It does not get better through the next little bit. The following scene, after the vomiting, is Hubie catching a glimpse of his high school sweetie, Violet Valentine, who is played by Julie Brown, then aptly crashing his bike on a wall and flying in a comedically exaggerated style over someone's car as he was staring at some tail. A straight 10 in Salem. No broom, no warts, no cackle. A perfect girl in Salem. Don't fret though, for Hubie's sake, because Violet didn't see dumbass Hubie fly over the vehicle. Though she did catch him acting like a robot in front of the Halloween animatronics, and is overwhelmed with love and warmth. It is then, though, that Hubie was trying to catch Violet's attention as she walks on past. Hubie drops her robot act and looks longingly after her. We are then introduced to how the main town treats him, and that is like a freak. We meet two of our main antagonists, uh, the Ray Liotta's Mr. Langdolfa, and Karan Brower's Mike Mundi, who are both irrepressible dicks to Hubie, addressing him as Puby constantly, and scaring him all the fucking time. Not much can be said about these two other than one is a pedo and the other is just a local town's douchebag. Adam Sandler brings out the classic, I have a girlfriend and she's in Canada line, stating she is Canadian resident of Canada in Canada Dry. And this is where I almost stopped watching again, as I kind of half cringe, but chuckled at the same time, because it's such an odd joke placement, and it kind of did line up perfectly for it. I was seriously expecting a your mom joke in that moment. But from there, we have the omnipresent O'Doyles, who make a return in this film alongside Orderly Hal. Just little O'Doyle's though, but they still bully Sandler after all these years. Like these are children just fucking going at this middle-aged man. Uh, Mike and Langdolfa prank Hubie, and the whole deli section laughs at him. Um, from there, we get the intro of Kevin James. And in this review, I kind of just refer to him as Kevin because it doesn't feel like he's playing any other character that can set him aside from all the other roles Kevin James has played. But it's Kevin James with a beard and a mullet as a police chief. His archetype is just to dismiss Hubie and treat him like a nutcase because, frankly, Hubie really puts himself off as a nutcase. But he's also to drive the plot forward, as he is the one addressed to the mental patient escapee, as he testified in court against him. And the patient may wish to enact revenge. Sorry, I just had to get some water. Back to the review though. There's this consistent theme throughout the movie of Adam Sandler riding a bike. And, you know, when he's riding this bike, shit just gets constantly thrown at him. You'll always see Hubie on a bike, as with his potential mental disability or, the special needs, he cannot drive a car. And I guess that's kind of implied at this point because he never drives a car once in the film. It's only him riding his bike. But after, at this point we're like three bike scenes in, I think. But after the whole entire Kevin James thing, there's another bike scene of Hubie having shit thrown at him. And to be honest, this becomes a constant transition gag of objects being thrown at him. Each time the objects become larger and more dangerous, but it does keep the transition scenes from one area of the set to the next quite enjoyable. It keeps it engaging to the audience, and it doesn't keep it dry. Because, if you're just to see Hubie riding around on a bike, there's nothing fun about that. If you're to see him having shit thrown at him, that's kind of fucking funny. Especially since Hubie isn't a character that you necessarily like. But after this, we're introduced to another one of Adam Sandler's friends. This one being Steve Buscemi, who plays Hubie's neighbor, Walter Lambert. It was until this moment I hadn't realized how old Steve Buscemi was getting. Personally, this is my belief. He's a pretty good fucking guy. As many of you know or may not know, he helped firefighters during 9/11. He's had a massively long spanning career of great comedies and serious movies. He's a phenomenal actor. He can really get into playing roles. And so, me realizing how old Steve has gotten kind of put me into shock for a bit, because he's a phenomenal actor, and I think he deserves that praise. But back to Hubie Halloween. Adam Sandler ruins the Canada joke of having the girlfriend in Canada immediately, as he makes it again within the same 10-minute span. And by the way, we're still on the intro of the movie. It's only been like 10 minutes. This time, though, it's elaborated upon that she's in the northern section of Ontario to Mr. Lambert. Walter points out how Hubie has mums in his garden. There's also a good scary ghost scene, and I'll actually let that play out in the video because it's funny. The only thing though is the humor was ruined by a fart joke afterwards.
Look at those purple mums.
Mom plenty those.
And you gotta love the old school ghosts you got working over there.
Yep. Scary ghosts. That's...
Mr. Lambert ends their conversation by ominously telling Hubie not to worry about any odd sounds emanating from his property, which just foreshadowing because the movie can't just have a natural progression of order. It seems everything in this film really kind of stacks up on top of itself, of things just happening for the sake of pushing the plot. Um, but with Hubie already being so Halloween centric, it obviously worries him. Um, and then we cut to another over the top reaction and decoration destruction by Hubie as a fake skeleton scares him. And this is the first time we meet June Squibb, to my recollection. June Squibb plays Hubie's mother, who is hilariously wearing a boner donor shirt. She expresses her empathy for Hubie and how he cannot just be left alone and unbothered by the people of Salem. Then Hubie asks what a boner is, and it ruins the comedy again. As I like to have it simply put, if a joke is funny, it does not need explaining. Just keep it in as a gag joke without any explanation. Have the audience understand it and laugh at it. You don't have to go that extra mile of expressing it verbally if the characters know what it means or not. It really kind of takes away from the effect. The scene also contains another important piece of what irks me over this film. It's Adam Sandler just constantly bringing up that he's Jewish when it relates to holidays or in discussion of celebrations. And don't get me wrong, by no means is it bad to represent who you are. In fact, I advocate for this strongly. Religion is an intricate part of people's lives, and it should not have any held kind of restrictions to it. However, when it bears no significant meaning other than to express why someone enjoys a holiday so much, it feels meh and bland. It lacks a real meaningful punch to it. Adam Sandler does this a lot in some of his films. I can't think of any specifically off the top of my head, but it's kind of it draws back from why Hubie may actually enjoy Halloween. It's just, hey, I'm Jewish, so this is why I like Halloween. Um, I went off on a tangent, so I'm just gonna head back into this with Mama Dubois tells Hubie he has to be brave this Halloween, and then we cut to Hubie at night in his room looking through the high school yearbook. We find out that Kevin James used to be the stereotypical football jock who turns to a cop. Um, Once again, very original. Huey was deemed most likely to marry his pillow, and with the invention of anime body pillows, I can see that as a genuine possibility. Um, we see that Steve, who is Kevin James's character, and Violet were high school sweethearts. He then kind of fantasizes about him in high school with Violet. Now, bear in mind, Adam Sandler retains this voice for Huey the whole movie, which truly douses the sentimental value of the scene with gallons upon gallons of diesel, then lights a cigarette right next to it. And if that wasn't enough to break the scene of bearing emotions and a sentimental value, it's followed by an attempted jump scare that involves Hubie breaking a window. So once again, scare and Hubie break something. Hubie's mom persists on asking what just happened, and then makes some haha stinky poo poo duty jokes, cause haha stinky funny. We get a zoom out of the psych version and staring up at the window of Hubie, and like as his mother and him are bantering so loud the next city over could probably hear it about him potentially shitting himself, which then cuts into a piss joke. And all I gotta say is the way Kurt Cobain went out, maybe it wasn't so bad. Alright, now we get into the main entree, Halloween Day. It begins with Violet, and we finally get to meet her family. Noah Schnapp plays her son. I honestly did not care to read the name of his character. Yep, that's good on me. That's good research job. Everybody clap. Benoit Schnapp is an actor you may recognize most notably from his role on Stranger Things, as well as we get to meet Violet's two foster daughters, Danielle and Cookie, and they're played by Adam Sandler's actual real life daughters. Um, and there's another funny gag introduced that kind of doesn't get killed through the film, and that's the joke of every news anchor dressing up like Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad 2016. Um, and it's just, it kind of catches you off guard. Then we cut to the character of Tracy Phillips. She's kind of not important, just used as a catalyst news anchor to move the plot forward, as other characters are. Um, the only reason I brought her up is because she is Adam Sandler's wife. Um, so you can see this movie was kind of just a family affair, to get a lot of his family in it. But another set of funny shirts is shown on Hubie's mother and her friend during this newscast. And then we cut to Kevin James investigating a crime that occurred to a pig. Dave, played by Lavelle Crawford, explains some exposition, then becomes interrupted by his presumed wife, Louise, who is played by Kim Whitley. Um, they go back and forth between each other, and it's actually funny. It seems like Adam Sandler just said, "Hey, have at her, just do a funny skit," and it's just a series of Yo Mama jokes that surprisingly work really well. However, we cut from that funniness to Kevin finding, "Uh-oh, what's that? A blue mum? Egads! Hubie must have done this, as mums are not a fucking common flower for fall festivities or in fall in general." I mean, literally, I can walk down the street and I can see so many fucking mums just in people's gardens and shit. It's ridiculous. Ugly plant, and they only survive for like a month or two. But, no, apparently nobody else can have mums. The next scene following this just builds upon Violet and Hubie's chemistry. They're both at the Museum of Salem, at the exhibit of the witch trials, and he hands a stack of word searches kindly to the curator to offer out to the children so they aren't so bored waiting for the Halloween festivities to start. The curator just immediately dumps them in the trash, and that was good. It just caught me off guard, and I laughed because it was invisible eyesight of Huey and Violet. Um, and then there's a joke shared between Adam Sandler and his daughter in the scene, and it was also funny. I did feel like it was written in a script. The dialogue in the scene felt actually natural. The awkward salute that they had at the end made me laugh, and you got to give credit where credit is due. Um, and it's really nice. Um, from there, we get historical context to as why Hubie is in Salem. Um, that his family has been there for generations and generations, which honestly could have been the reason behind why he enjoys Halloween so much. Not because he is Jewish, but his family is naturally from Salem just throughout the decades. They were involved in the witch trials, and voila, there, you could have it. Um, we get Violet coming on to Hubie real strong in the scene, like extremely forward and direct, and reeking of hormones, like a primal animal. We learned that Violet and Steve became married after high school, but it's just to be told that they are divorced. So it really bears no significance to the plot, and it feels kind of just like a forced interjection of exposition. Violet tells Hubie that Walter Lambert may not be who he says he is. She tells Hubie to essentially investigate the graveyard, which leads into a not so bad scene. And this not so bad scene is Pedo Langdolf's father is being buried. Hubie is acting weird at the cemetery while this funeral is occurring. Um, Hubie sees Lambert's tombstone and notes that it does not have a date of death. The minister presiding over the Langdolfa funeral understandably comes over to Hubie, upset, and asks him what the hell he is doing. Then says some heavenly like sentences to Hubie. Um, Ray Liotta comes over to Hubie and falsely apologizes to Hubie, blaming his father's passing on his mistreatment of Hubie, and that's why he's kind of just been pissed. Um, but that's only just to push Hubie into his father's grave, on top of his casket. Then tries to justify it to his mother that Hubie deserves to be 6 feet under. Like, calling Langdolfa an asshole is a fucking understatement of the century. Um, Hubie afterwards gives someone a heart attack. Then we cut to another transition. And frankly, at this point, uh, this is only 20 minutes into the movie. And I'm not going to sit here and give a play by play for this, like my standard reviews, um, because there's nothing insightful to offer over it. The rest of the movie just builds off pre established connections and jokes and has a real weak finish to it. There isn't much to say other than this movie is hard to watch and commentate on. There are good jokes in this movie, but it's hard to bypass the entirety of everything bad within it to actually get to them. Uh, the means do not justify an end for a film of this caliber, unfortunately. And I mean, from there, we find out that Walter has a mental disability um, that makes him believe he is a lycanthrope. And for those who are unbeknownst, a lycanthrope is a werewolf. There's actually a Mr. Ballin video that has recently been made, um, a video about the manor, um, and I'll link that in the description as it is a good Halloween watch. Um, and then, in the rest of the film, we find out the psych ward patient who escaped was not Walter, but Walter's gay lover, Richie Hartman, who's played by Rob Schneider. And he just escaped to go ahead and bring Walter back to the psych ward because nobody seemed to be doing it. There are almost supernatural occurrences of Hubie's bullies being snatched up out of nowhere. People think Hubie is the guy causing all the weird Halloween disturbances. Ray Liotta's character gets addressed as a child groomer, essentially saying like there's someone who is younger than 18, and she was like, "Oh well, that's still a problem to me." I mean, I didn't even get to that point on this watch, just because I can't fucking stand that part. But there's also a good skit involving Shaquille O'Neal, and I mean, there's a psych out, a red herring, out of the out towards the ending of the movie where Violet intends to confess her love for Hubie, but he believes she's a psycho killer. Um, I find out the real person behind all of this is Hubie's mother enacting vengeance on behalf of him, trying to light the bullies at the stake. Which I mean, historically, there was not too many people who were lit up at the stake during the Salem witch trials, so it kind of feels lost upon. Um, but they all apologize to Hubie and give lame ass reasons as why they bully him. Violet and Hubie get together, and at the end, it's followed by 12 minutes of credits. So you know that there was a lot of people involved in this, and a lot of people who end up deciding to pass this as a film. Shame on to you. All in all, though, this movie is alright if you want to get stoned and just watch a bad movie during spooky season. It can be a waste of time depending on how you look at it. I mean, I watched the shit 3 times and still found some enjoyable aspects, but the movie can be a drag to watch. I'd assume this movie was made to end the contract between Sandler and Netflix, but with no, with me kind of not doing any extensive research, Who knows? This movie on the rating scale is dependent upon you and your taste of humor, as humor is subjective. As for me, though, I give this film 2 candy corns out of 10 witches broomsticks. Um, that being said, I'm gonna go get some candy corn and veg out and watch some Halloween movies. I hope you all had a terrific spooky season, and I'll be roughly seeing you in 2 weeks. Have a good one.